Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something really tough. Betrayal.
Mm.
It's one of those experiences that it shatters things, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It goes incredibly deep.
Imagine you've built this life, this relationship, on what feels like solid rock,
Yeah.
and then you find out it was all sand. That kind of shock. Infidelity, dishonesty, abandonment.
That's devastating.
It's way more than just being disappointed. It actually triggers this grief response, very intense, almost like mourning a death.
It's a really good comparison.
So our mission today really is to give you a kind of map, a shortcut maybe, to understanding the grief that follows betrayal, to help make sense of those huge emotions and hopefully find a way towards healing.
And, getting this understanding, it's not just about putting labels on feelings. It's actually a really powerful way to decode what feels like emotional chaos.
Right, when everything's upside down.
Exactly. Seeing these patterns can bring real clarity. It gives you those aha moments, about something that feels so personal, but is actually a pretty universal human struggle, and it helps you analyze it and then, move through it more intentionally.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Why? Why does betrayal cut so incredibly deep? I mean, we've all been disappointed, right?
Sure. Plans fall through, people let you down a bit.
Yeah, it stings. But betrayal, that's a whole different league, isn't it?
It really is.
Think about trust. It's not just a feeling, is it? It's like the invisible foundation of any close relationship.
The bedrock, yeah.
And when that breaks, it doesn't just hurt, it shakes everything, the ground beneath your feet.
That's perfectly put. And the impact, it goes so much further than just disappointment.
How so?
Well, betrayal fundamentally shakes our sense of safety, that core feeling that we're secure with this person.
Okay.
It hits our self-worth hard, makes you question everything, your judgment, your value.
Yeah, how could I have missed this?
Exactly. And maybe the biggest thing, it twists your understanding of reality itself. It's the loss of what you believed was true about them, the relationship, even yourself.
That's huge.
And it can even feel physical. People talk about that gut punch feeling.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Sometimes it's linked to the vagus nerve, connecting deep emotional pain right to your body. Your whole system is reacting to that breach.
It absolutely makes sense then that something hitting that deep would trigger grief, a real grief process.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something from our sources I found really interesting. We talk about stages of grief after betrayal.
Right, like Kubler-Ross.
Kind of,
Yeah.
but here's the twist. They're almost never a neat, straight line.
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
So important.
Why is that so critical to understand?
Well, think of it less like steps on a ladder and more like, waves. Or maybe a spiral staircase.
Okay, I like that image.
You might feel shock, then anger flares up, then maybe you dip back into disbelief for a bit.
So we're moving on again.
Exactly. It's not a checklist you tick off. Stage 1, done. Stage 2, done. But for clarity, to give you that RAID map we talked about, it is helpful to look at the general patterns, starting with that first hit, that numbness.
Stage 1, shock and denial.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling where your brain just seems to say, nope, not happening. What's that actually like?
Well, when it first hits, you might feel totally numb, or just this profound disbelief, like you're walking through a bad dream. And the thoughts are exactly what you'd think. This can't be real, or there's got to be a mistake.
Right.
And here's a subtle thing our sources point out. Denial isn't just sticking your head in the sand. It's actually your brain's protective mechanism, like a circuit breaker. It slows down the incoming information so you don't get completely overloaded.
Oh, okay. A buffer.
Precisely. Its purpose is to be a crucial buffer, giving your mind time to start processing the sheer scale of what's happened.
That makes sense.
But the real aha moment is realizing that buffer isn't meant to be permanent. It's a shield, yeah. But if you hold on to it too long,
just prolongs things.
it can actually prolong the pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a necessary first step, but you have to move through it. And I guess once that shield starts lowering, what comes next hits hard. Stage 2, pain and guilt.
Oh, yeah. It's very hard. This is where that intense emotional pain, the real heartache, floods in.
More than just the gut punch.
Definitely. You might get actual physical symptoms, headaches, being totally exhausted, that constant knot in your stomach, and the thoughts. They can be agonizing. How could this happen? Or, and this one's really painful, was it my fault? What did I do wrong?
That guilt piece is tricky.
It is. But this stage, as raw and awful as it feels, is vital. It's where you're truly starting to acknowledge the depth of the loss.
Even if it feels like too much.
Even then, trying to suppress it or outrun it, which is tempting,
Totally.
often just makes it last longer. You have to feel it.
Right. It's like your whole being demands you face it.
Okay.
So after acknowledging that deep pain, often a different kind of energy surfaces, right? Stage 3, anger and blame.
Precisely. Anger, sometimes rage, intense resentment. You might feel this urge to lash out.
At the person who hurt you.
Yeah, or maybe at yourself, or even other people who seem vaguely connected.
Right.
The thoughts are fiery. How could they do this to me? I gave them my trust. How dare they?
That sounds familiar.
And anger can actually be useful sometimes. It can give you energy, motivation to act.
How so? Like demanding answers.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries.
Exactly. But it needs careful management. That's the key insight here.
Okay.
Because anger gives you energy, yes. But if it's just wild and undirected,
Yeah.
or misdirected, it can become really destructive.
Yeah, it can eat you up.
It consumes you instead of empowering you. So it's a force you need to channel, not just unleash.
Channeling anger. Okay. And sometimes after that fiery energy, maybe it shifts into something else. Like a desperate attempt to fix it, to undo it.
That leads perfectly into the next stage. Bargaining.
Bargaining. Making deals with the universe. Trying to turn back time.
That's a great way to describe it. This stage is all about those desperate attempts to get back what you lost, or just make sense of it all. Often by playing out different scenarios.
The if-onlys.
Exactly. You get stuck in that loop. If only I'd been different. If only I hadn't said that. Or maybe if I just forgive them right now, things can go back to how they were.
Trying to regain control.
That's the core purpose, yeah. Trying to get some sense of control when you feel totally powerless and trying to avoid the full pain of the loss.
It's like a last stand against the inevitable grief.
A last-ditch effort, definitely, to pull back from the edge.
So it's basically avoiding facing the full reality. And when bargaining doesn't work, when you realize you can't change what happened, that's often when the real weight hits. Stage 5, depression and despair.
Yes. After bargaining fails, that full, undeniable weight of the betrayal can really settle in. Heavy.
What does that look like?
Deep sadness, feelings of hopelessness, maybe withdrawing from people, losing interest in things you used to enjoy.
So flat.
Very flat. The common thoughts are things like, nothing will ever be the same, or I'll never get over this, I'll never trust anyone again.
Sounds incredibly bleak.
It is. It feels incredibly bleak. But, and this is important, this stage is actually about confronting the reality of the loss, feeling its full weight.
It's a necessary surrender.
In a way, yes. A surrender to the truth, however painful it is. And paradoxically, it's often in that depth, in that darkness, that real healing can start to take root. Though it rarely feels like it at the time.
Right. It feels like the end, but it might be a turning point. And thankfully, as hard as that stage is, our sources show it doesn't last forever. It can lead somewhere else. Stage 6, acceptance and hope.
Exactly. Acceptance and hope. Now, this doesn't mean you suddenly approve of what happened.
No, definitely not.
Or that you're just over it like flipping a switch. It's not that simple.
So what is acceptance in this context?
It's more like a gradual sense of peace starts to emerge, some clarity, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, there's a future possible. Your thoughts might shift towards things like, okay, this happened, it hurt like hell, but I can heal. Or, wow, I'm actually stronger than I realized.
Finding resilience.
Yes. And the real insight here, acceptance is about acknowledging the reality of the event, not fighting it anymore, and choosing to move forward.
Not forgetting, not condoning.
Not at all, but integrating it. Making it part of your story in a way that lets you rebuild. It's about letting go of the struggle against what is and deciding to reclaim your future.
Reclaiming your future. I like that. Okay, so we've mapped out these stages, this spiral staircase of grief after betrayal. So what does this actually mean for you, the listener, if you're going through this? Healing takes time, right? And intentional effort.
Absolutely. It's a process.
And our sources highlight some really practical steps you can take to navigate this journey.
Yes, concrete things. And the first one is often missed, but it's foundational. Allow yourself to feel.
Just feel it.
Yeah. We live in a culture that often tells us to get over it quickly, push through, be strong.
Right, suck it up.
But giving yourself permission to actually grieve, to feel the anger, the sadness, the confusion without rushing it or stuffing it down, that's crucial. So many people try to skip this.
It's hard, though. Sitting with that much pain.
It's incredibly hard, which is why the next step is so important, especially when you feel that raw. Seek support.
Don't go it alone.
Please don't. Talk to friends you trust. Consider seeing a therapist or counselor. Look into support groups for betrayal trauma.
Why is that external support so vital?
Well, people often feel ashamed or think they should be able to handle it themselves. But support gives you validation, it gives you perspective, and maybe most importantly, it reminds you that you're not alone in this.
Hearing other stories helps.
Immensely.
Yeah.
It helps you realize this isn't some unique failing of yours. It lessens the isolation.
And while you're leaning on others, you also need to lean into yourself kindly. Which brings us to practice self-compassion.
Yes. When you've been betrayed, it's so easy to turn inward with blame or feel like you're somehow broken. Self-compassion is the antidote. It means being gentle with yourself, understanding that healing isn't a straight line,
Accepting the setback.
accepting the setbacks. The moments you dip back into anger or despair, those are normal. Talk to yourself like you'd talk to a dear friend going through the same thing.
Good advice. And now, betrayal is fundamentally about broken trust and violated boundaries. So it makes sense that rebuilding involves set boundaries.
Absolutely critical. Protecting your emotional well-being means setting clear, firm boundaries.
Especially with the person who betrayed you.
Yes, if they're still in your life in any capacity. But sometimes with others too. This isn't about punishing anyone.
It's about protecting yourself.
It's about self-preservation, creating a safe space where you can heal. It's a way to actively regain some control over your emotional environment.
Okay. And then there's the really big one for many people, the ultimate challenge, maybe. Explore forgiveness. That can feel impossible.
It often does feel impossible, especially early on. And it's a deeply personal journey. It takes time, lots of time sometimes.
What's the key thing to understand about forgiveness here?
The crucial insight is this. Forgiveness, in the context of healing from betrayal, is primarily about releasing yourself.
Releasing yourself. How?
Releasing yourself from the corrosive grip of chronic anger, bitterness, pain, resentment. It doesn't mean you condone what happened.
Okay, that's important.
It doesn't even necessarily mean reconciling with the person, especially if they haven't shown remorse or changed.
So it's an internal shift.
It's about freeing up your own energy that's tied up in holding on to the hurt. It's fundamentally a gift you give to yourself.
That reframing forgiveness as a gift to yourself, that's powerful.
It can be transformative.
And for some people, finding strength involves looking outwards or upwards, reconnect with faith or purpose.
Yes, for many, spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, or connecting with a faith community can provide immense comfort and strength.
Finding meaning beyond the pain.
Exactly. It's not about magically erasing the hurt, but about finding a larger context, a sense of belonging, or an inner peace that helps sustain you through the suffering.
And finally, the goal many of us hope for after any really hard experience. Focus on growth.
Right. This isn't about rushing to find the silver lining while you're still bleeding.
No.
But over time, it is possible to use this incredibly painful experience for self-discovery, to build resilience, to foster genuine personal growth.
How does that happen?
It's about understanding that, yes, the scar might always be there, but the wound can heal. And you can emerge stronger, maybe with a clearer sense of your values, a deeper understanding of yourself.
Moving from victim to author.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Moving from being defined by what happened to you to being the author of your next chapter.
Okay, those are some really tangible steps. As you're listening, hearing these, what stands out to you? Which one feels most relevant right now? Or maybe most challenging, just something to reflect on. So the core message here, despite how deep the pain of betrayal goes, is that healing truly is possible.
It is.
Remember, these stages we talked about, they're a map, a guide, not some rigid checklist you have to follow perfectly.
Or like landmarks on the journey.
Yeah, landmarks to help you navigate through the darkness. They light up the path, your unique path, towards hope, towards wholeness again. Your story isn't over.
And here's a final thought to maybe take with you. If understanding this messy, nonlinear path of grief after betrayal can foster self-compassion and acceptance, well, what other doors does that open? How might this deeper insight into navigating loss and disappointment change how you view other challenges in life? Could understanding this emotional process actually strengthen your resilience for whatever comes next?
Equip you with more wisdom, not just courage.
Precisely. Facing the future with wisdom gained from the past.
Keep moving forward, one step at a time.